Hello and welcome to our practice for International Women's Day 2021. Today's practice is based on the theme of Choose to Challenge, and we will work through our practice today with options at every stage, so you can take it at your own pace with options to challenge yourself if you wish. Things that may be helpful but are not essential are a flat yoga block, a big yoga brick, maybe a strap, but as I say, none of those things are essential for the practice. And also it would be helpful if you turned your mat long ways, because I'm going to work from right to left rather than back to front, if that makes sense. So get everything you need and I'll see you on the mat. Hello, it's Emma here. Welcome to our practice. Our first pose today is going to be easy seat or Sukhasana. So you may want to sit on a block or a folded up blanket to elevate your seat bones. And our theme today is choose to challenge. So all the way through, we're going to have options to take variations of the pose that maybe we don't always take. And Sukhasana is a great place to start. So if you usually cross your shins high up and sit in this kind of cross-leg position, maybe today you can just draw your knees a bit further out. Maybe you can draw your heels a little further in. So take a moment just to see what's available to you. And remember, it's just the first pose, so we'll work into this nice and slow. What I do want you to do is think about sending your seat bones down and the crown of your head drawing up towards the ceiling. Let your hands either rest on your knees or bring them into your lap. And draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Gently draw in at your navel. And maybe you can let your eyes close. And let's start to settle the mind, settle the body. Taking some deep breaths in and out through our nose. Maybe you try to lengthen your inhalation, lengthen your exhalation. And just noticing how your breath is today, with no judgment, and not trying to change anything. And seeing if you can notice yourself becoming a little calmer, the mind becoming a little quieter as we bring the focus to the breathing. And if your eyes were closed, blink them open, come back into the light. Let's breathe in and reach arms up and over the head. Exhale to bring your hands down, prayer at the center of the chest. Inhale, reach wide and up. And exhale, hands come down. Let's do a couple more. Reaching wide and up. Exhaling down, and the last one. And from here, we'll take an easy twist. So bring your right hand behind, left hand comes towards right knee. Ground the seat bones, lengthen through the whole of the spine. And as you breathe out, start to twist to the right. Start at the bottom of the spine. Lumbar, mid-spine next. And then finally, maybe turning your gaze over your shoulder. For every inhale, lengthen into the back of the body. And optionally twist a little more as you exhale. Let's have 2 more rounds. Last one, lengthen and twist. Inhale, take your arms back into the air and let's go to the other side. Left hand behind, right hand to left knee. Long spine on your inhalation, drawing at the tummy. Exhale, twisting to the left, start at the bottom of the spine. Work through the middle back. And finally, turning your gaze over your shoulder. Follow your own timing for the next 3 breaths. And then inhale, arms come back up. And exhale, slowly draw your hands into your heart center. Okay, one more pose and then we will come over to cat and cow. We will do a side flexion. So your options here are to keep your hand at the side of the body. So bring your right hand down to the side of your hip now and inhale your left arm up. We'll exhale to come over and then you're in charge of how far away you bring this hand, and maybe you bend into your elbow as well. So you have control of the amount of stretch you find in the left side and the amount of flexion on the right. So just come into this pose now, experimenting with what is working for you. It's only the second pose of our practice, so let's see, maybe investigate where your gaze works best as well. Maybe it's down, maybe it's up at your left hand, or maybe it's back under your armpit. Okay, let's sweep up and over to the other side. Right hand into the air, coming over. And once again, you're in charge where you have your hand and how much bend you put into your elbow. Maybe look down, maybe look up, maybe look back. Send your breath into your rib cage, the side of the body. And then inhale to sweep up and exhale to release. Okay, let's continue and finish off working the spine in all of its 6 directions. So that means cat and cow. Come over onto all fours and set up your foundation with wrists under shoulders and knees under hips, and spreading out your fingers and pushing your palms firmly down. And before we begin to move, I want you to think about lengthening from tail to crown of head. So the tailbone draws away from the crown of the head, and lightly draw up at your navel to engage Uddiyana Bandha. 5 rounds of cat and cow. Inhale, send your chest forward, tummy drops, tailbone lifts, gaze forward. Exhale, tailbone under, chin to chest, push the mat away, round the whole back. Inhale, tummy drops, tail lifts, chest forward, gaze ahead. And exhale, rounding. Now I've got 3 more rounds of these. By all means, feel free to close your eyes as you work through them. It might feel quite nice. Most of us know this action really well. We do many of these as we work through yoga practices over the years. Let's make the next one the last one. Round your spine. Neutral table. And then from neutral table, I want you to walk your palms slightly forward so your wrists are slightly ahead of your shoulders. Curl your toes under, glue your palms, push, lift the knees and send your seat bones up and back. So the hands are now about shoulder width apart and the feet are about hip width apart. Don't worry about the heels touching the mat. Soften into your knees and engage into your thighs. As you push the mat away, lengthen the sides of the body all the way up and lift your tailbone high. Draw your chest towards your thighs. And then let's think about our drishti. So you may look straight down in front of you, but how does it feel to look back between your feet? And if you usually look back between your feet, maybe you can lengthen a bit more, crown of the head away from tail, and bring your gaze around to your navel. So just investigate where your drishti can be for 3 more breaths. Soften the knees. Keep lengthening through the whole back of body, drawing in at the navel. Keep pushing the floor away. It's probably the most important action, the push of the hands into the mat. Okay, that was our only downward dog of this practice. I should have said that at the beginning. Okay, let's walk to the middle of the mat. So walk your feet in and walk your hands in. Inhale to halfway lift. Your hands can be on the mat or you can bring them to your shins. Chest lifts, gaze forward. And then as you exhale, hinge from your hips, come down into a fold. And you can bend your knees as much as you like in the fold, or you can work towards straight legs. And you can either get ragdoll, the variation with opposite hand on opposite shoulder, heavy head, heavy arms, all the upper body drawing down. Or you can take your big toes and take Parangastasana. Inhale, lift, and bend at the elbows, come down. So Parangastasana or ragdoll. Wherever you are, your gaze is back. Bring the weight forward. Remember, you can soften as much as you like into the knees. And then release the connection, whether it's toes or elbows, hands to mat. Bring your feet in a little, root down, rise up. Big inhale, arms all the way over your head. And exhale, release down into mountain. Okay, take a quarter turn so you are in the middle of your mat. And our main part of practice, our standing part, is all going to be facing the side. We're going to work to the right and then we're going to work to the left. So we'll do everything on one side, do a couple of poses in the middle and then do it on the other side. So from mountain pose in the center of the mat, either step or jump to a wide stance. No jumping for me. And then we're going to turn the right foot to 90 degrees, 12 o'clock, and spin around on the ball of the back foot to find a high lunge. So spin around, find your balance, bend into your front knee. The back leg can be bent or it can be straight. Drawing your hips to the short edge of the mat, and then either bring your hands into a prayer at the center of the chest or reach your arms overhead. So maybe if you usually stay with your hands at prayer, maybe today's the day to reach your arms up. Now, I want you to ground into both feet, so the whole of your right foot onto the toes of the left. And as you root down, you're rising up through the body, engaging into both of your thighs and drawing in at your tummy, gazing forward. Final challenge, maybe we could look up between the palms. If you've looked up, bring your gaze back to center. As you exhale, drop your back heel and find warrior two. So make any adjustments to the length of your step. We want to keep shoulders over hips, arms wide and the fingertips reaching as far away from each other as possible, softening the shoulders and then looking out over the middle finger of right hand. Check in with your right knee, make sure it's drawing to the right side. Strengthen into your back leg, so pushing down strongly into both feet. Such a lot of work going on into our quadricep muscles, adductors. A couple more breaths in Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana B. Then I want you to inhale, straighten your right leg just for a moment of active recovery. And then exhale, let's go back down. Turn the right palm to the ceiling for reverse warrior. Inhale, reach forward and then right arm up and send your left hand down your left leg. Maybe reach up, not reach up, look up, maybe look up. And don't lose what you've achieved in your legs. So you've still got your warrior two legs. Can you look up at your right hand? Keep drawing in at the tummy, keep pushing down in the feet, squeezing into the thighs. And then take one more inhale. And exhale, bring the elbow above the knee. extended side angle, and sweep the left arm under and up. So we look for a long line all the way from fingertips to the outside edge of the left foot. And your challenge here would be to bring your hand either to the floor or onto a block, if you wish for it. Otherwise, stay here on the knee with me. Keep everything that you've achieved in your legs. And then with care, breathe in, return to warrior two. Straighten your right leg, feet to parallel. Okay, wide leg forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana. Make sure now that both feet face 12 o'clock. And bring your hands to hips or waist. Draw in at the tummy, so engage Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale to lift the chest, we're doing variation B, hands stay on the hips. Exhale, hinge. So coming down to about halfway, and when you get to halfway, inhale, lengthen. So tailbone and crown of the head draw away from each other, and shoulder blades draw gently back. Option, exhale, fold a bit more. And let's challenge ourselves by bringing the weight forward into the fronts of the feet, keeping the shoulders back, and then taking your gaze back, drawing your gaze behind you. Keep bringing the weight into the fronts of the feet. It's a little bit challenging because we don't have it's not the variation where the hands come to the mat to give us that extra support. But don't worry, I've taught a lot of yoga classes and no one's ever fallen forward in this position. Not so far anyway. Okay, push, chest forward, breathe in, and come all the way to the top. Exhale completely, release this pose. Okay, next up, goddess pose. Utthita Konasana. We're going to turn the feet out to 45 degrees. So 10 to 2 Charlie Chaplin feet. And we'll take a breath in and exhale to bend the knees. So we want to try and have the knees over the ankles. And as with all squat positions, we want to draw the knees back. And make sure, so take a quick look out and make sure that your knees and your feet are traveling in the same direction. Okay, settle in. We've got 5 breaths in goddess. Let's add the arms. So breathe in and bring your elbows to shoulder height. And just take a look out to see if your wrists are over your elbows. Sometimes the palms are a bit far forward. So let's hold this. Did I already say 5? Let's start again. 5. Maybe you can bend a bit more. 4. And 3. 2. And 1. Push into the mat. Breathe in. Come all the way up and exhale. Release. And bring your feet back to parallel. Okay, so now we're going to do all of that again on the second side. So we will take our high lunge to the back or to the other end of the mat. So left foot to 12 o'clock, spin onto your right toes, adjust your step, bend deeply into the front knee. And let's start with hands at prayer. So remember the back knee can be bent. It can be straight. That's a personal preference. Find your steadiness with hands at heart center. Spread out your toes, left foot. Push hard into both feet so you're grounded. And then let's challenge arms up and overhead for 3. And 2. And 1. For the next 2 breaths, can you take your gaze up? Come back to center. And exhale. Warrior 2. Okay, widen your step if you need to. So front knee over front ankle, the knee is drawing to the left side, engaging strongly into your thigh muscles, quadriceps, pushing down strongly at the back. Settling your shoulders down. Drawing in at your Uddiyana Bandha, keeping the shoulders over the hips. So remember, the hips face the side in Warrior 2. Forgot to say that on the other side. 3 more. Keep your back leg straight. 2 and 1. Inhale, active recovery. Straighten your left leg. Exhale, come back. Flip your left palm, reach forward, reverse your warrior. Viparita Virabhadrasana. Straight back leg, keep the bend in the front knee. And let's see, can we look up to the left fingers for 3, 2, 1. Exhale, extended side angle. Elbow just above the knee, sweep the right arm under and up. And then you can either stay on your knee, you could come to block or floor. And you can always take your hands straight up in the air, or classic Parangastasana, a long line. And maybe you could look up at your right hand. Another couple of breaths. And then with control, breathe in and come back to warrior 2. Straighten your left leg and feet to parallel. Okay, so next up, we're going back to the wide leg fold. This time we'll do variation C. So the hands will come behind the back. Just make sure you're happy with the width of your feet. Bring your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, and gently wrap your shoulder blades in a bit more towards your spine. Draw in at your belly, lift your chest and breathe in. Exhale to hinge at your hips and start to come down. So soften the knees. We're coming about to halfway to begin. Then let's stop and take another inhale. Lengthen crown of head to tail. And exhale, we fold more, perhaps. And also you have the option to lift your arms away from your sacrum and maybe start to draw them up and maybe over your head. Let's take 3 more deep breaths. Don't forget to challenge yourself by your weight coming forward into the front part of the feet. Deep breaths into your shoulders. And then we're coming up. So push into your feet, send your chest forward. So the chest leads, we breathe in to come all the way up. Exhale, release hands to hips or waist. Okay, back to goddess. Turn your feet 45 degrees, 10 to 2. And we will bend at the knees, okay? So once again, just check in, knees and feet are traveling in the same direction, and we're drawing the knees back in space. You can feel that into your adductors inside your thighs. Let's bring the arms, classic goddess arms. Take that look to the sides. Make sure your wrists are over your elbows. 5, 4, challenge, come onto your toes, left side. Drop your heel, right side. Drop your heel, both heels lift. And exhale, release. Inhale, up we come, hands to waist or hips, feet to parallel, and walk your feet in a little. And we are ready now to balance. So we're going to practice the standing leg raise balance today. Utthita Hasta. I've only said this about 3 million times. Utthita Hasta Parangastasana. So bring your weight into your right foot. And we'll do the left leg first. So weight on the right, lift the left knee. And take your fingers and interlace them just behind your, the bottom of your thigh, close to your knee. And then I want you to see if you can start to draw your knee up, but all the while lengthening through the body. So pushing down into your standing foot and sending the crown of the head up. Let's have 3 more here. And then on your next exhalation, slowly release back to mountain. Okay, let's ground the right from your hip. Inhale, lift the right knee. Interlace your fingers, root down through your left foot, long in the back, and drawing the knee in towards your chest. 3 breaths from here. So focus on keeping length all the way from your grounded foot right up to the crown of your head. Nearly there. One more inhale and exhale. Release back to mountain. Okay, we're going to do the second part. So we're just doing A and B, and we'll do, we'll have 2 options. So there's an option to challenge yourself if you wish to. Bring your weight back to the left foot. Inhale to lift. Don't just say left foot, right foot. Bring your knee up, and then left hand inside left knee. And on an exhalation, open your leg, your femur, in your hip joint out to the side. Ground down, rise up. Challenge, if you wish for it, peace fingers to big toe, straighten into the leg. Option. And keep the rotation in the leg, so opening into that hip. If you have your toe, release, come back together, knee forward, release the pose. Okay, let's go on the other side, ground the left foot and lift the right knee, right hand inside, exhale to open. Ground into the left, long through the body, and then either stay here or peace fingers. The challenge would be to go for the toe. Remember that the practice of balancing is all about the falling, about the wobbling. So embrace that, come back in if you have fallen out. Don't give up. Wherever you are, let's take a couple more deep breaths. And if you had your toe, release. Let's all bring the knee forward and release the pose. Wonderful. Okay, now we will head to the mat. And for the next pose, I'm going to give you quite a lot of options. The next pose is Malasana, Yogi Squat, sometimes called garland pose. So things that might be helpful here, block. And a rolled up blanket, which I haven't got, which is not very helpful. I could do it with my mat. So in the Yogi Squat, we want to take the feet slightly wider than the hips, and the feet are 10 to 2. And we drop down low in the hips. And you want the tailbone to descend as the crown of the head draws up. The elbows can be inside the knees, and we gently use the pressure of the elbows to draw the knees back. Okay, so this is Malasana, and this can feel really challenging on people's hips, people's ankles, and people's knees. So there's lots of variations. Block under bottom is a good variation, so you can have all the benefits of the pose, but support and take some of that pressure away. You still get a good flexion here at the hip, and you still have work at the ankle. Keep the knees always in line with the feet. So here's one option. The other option that I could suggest for you is if it's all about the heels and the amount of flexibility of the ankle, you could either roll up your mat or you could get a blanket and support under your heels. And actually you could do it with a flat block as well. So that can just plug that gap. The other thing, if all of that is kind of not working out, is you can whiz onto your back and do happy baby. So knees outside the ribs and either hold behind the thighs or reach for the insides or outsides of your feet. Okay, so maybe you've already found your variation. Otherwise, let's head there now. And we'll take about 10 breaths in whichever variation we are going to take. Okay, so I encourage you to embrace the sensations of Malasana, especially if you're like me and you do find this quite challenging. For me, it's in the hips. and a little bit in the ankles as well, if I'm honest. And the way that I always get through Malasana is to just think about my breath and just sending some love to those parts of my body that are on fire right now. Let's say we're about halfway through, another 30 seconds. Okay, get ready to release. Come into a kneeling position. Okay, next up, we are going to challenge ourselves with crow pose. Now, if you have never practiced crow pose before, then I suggest that you stay either with Malasana or you practice happy baby with your arms reaching up in between your feet. So these are the actions of crow, but without the balancing. So if you've practiced it before, if you're feeling confident, come with me. But if you're brand new to it, today is perhaps not the day, seeing as I'm not there in the room to look after you. Okay, so things that we could do in crow. We could always have a block, and the block can be helpful to, well, first of all, actually you can hop onto it, raise the knees and get them closer to your elbows, not your elbows, your armpits, and use that to help you to take a bit of flight. Or you can use it to bring your head down onto the block. So you've got to get the right position, and you could use that, the center of your forehead. It's like you're putting the third eye chakra on the center of the block. Otherwise, let's have a work into it together. So we start in a variation of Malasana. We bring the hands to shoulder width. We lift the hips and bring the knees towards the armpits. And we create a shelf for the shins with the backs of the arms. And then we bring the weight forward. So as we bring the weight forward, maybe you could take one foot off the mat. Maybe you can take the other foot off the mat. Maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you take your gaze forward and you take both feet off the mat. And push everything away from the floor. Just give it a few more breaths. See where you are. See if you've taken flight today. And then release, let it go, and come down onto your mat. Okay, next up is puppy pose. So this will serve as our back bend, our spinal extension today. So we'll set puppy up from all fours. So come into your table. And when we work into puppy, we want to keep the hips high over the knees. So let's walk the hands away, but keeping the hips where they are. And dropping the chest down, and also the forehead. And then you can walk your hands a bit further away maybe. Or some of you may want to drop your chin down and look forward. Choose your variation for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly walk yourself out and swing your legs around in front of you. And then just rock from side to side. So release any extra padding away from your seat bones. Next up, Parangastasana and seated twist. And we're going to combine these two poses, first of all on the right and then on the left. Might be handy to have a block and a strap nearby for these two. So let's start with the right side. So from Dandasana, bring up, let's do the left side first. Bring your left knee up and drop the knee to the side and the sole of the foot into right thigh. This knee can be supported with a brick, or you can take your foot further down your leg. I'm going to breathe in, lengthen into the back, reach your arms overhead, and then exhale to reach forward. And your hands reach as far forward as they will go. So maybe they land on your thigh, on your knee, on the floor. Maybe they land on your foot. You can use a strap to help bring your foot and your hands closer together. See what's available. Lift your chest. Exhale, fold down. So if you can easily reach your foot, excuse me, see if you can reach beyond and take your thumb and first finger around your left wrist. You may also want to bring a block behind and hold the block. Sorry. Okay, so wherever you are, let's take 3 more deep breaths. Oh, that feels better now. I've had a little cough. On your next inhalation, use your hands to help you to walk out of the pose. So coming back up to straight spine, and draw your knee in and cross the foot outside the right knee for Ardha Matsyendrasana, the half Lord of the Fishes. So often we keep the bottom leg straight in this pose. So if you want to challenge yourself today, lean over to the right so your left bottom leaves the mat. Swing your heel around and see if you can take the double bent leg version today. Here's another variation. Hold onto your left knee, sweep up your left hand, bring it behind you, and then maybe you want to bring the outside of the right elbow outside the left knee. And then lengthen, inhale, and exhale to twist. So long spine to begin, lengthening, inhaling, and twisting as you breathe out. 2 more rounds of breath. And then breathe in, come back to the center, release the bottom leg first, and then the top leg. We're back in Dandasana. Okay, right side. Bring up the right knee, drop it out to the side, sole of the foot into left thigh. Remember, support under the knee if you need to, or draw your foot further down. Don't work with pain in this bent knee. Inhale to reach up, exhale to hinge forward. So that hinges from the hips and hands, mat, leg, strap around ball of foot or reaching forward, maybe using the block. 5 deep breaths wherever you are. No forcing, no overdoing it really in this position. We need to go with our breath. Respect where our hips and our hamstrings and our back will allow us to go. Never forcing a stretch in yoga. 3 more deep breaths. And then release your connections, walk your hands back in, straighten up in the back, bring up your knee and cross it outside the left. Remember, you can stay with a straight bottom leg, or maybe you reach over to the left, swing around and bend the bottom leg as well. Okay, swing up with your right hand, bring it behind you, hold onto your knee with your left hand, or exhale your elbow outside your knee. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, we twist. Let's have 3 more rounds. Long spine, twisted spine. And as your next inhale comes, bring yourself back into the center. Release your bottom leg first, release the right, and then bend your left knee as well. And we're going to come back to come onto our back. Not back onto our back. We haven't been on our back yet, have we? No. Okay. So we'll lie down. Just take a moment to make any adjustments. We want to have the shoulders, the hips, the knees, and the feet in line. So the feet at 12 o'clock, knees are in line, heels under the knees, arms at the side of the body. And let's take our reclined pigeon pose. So ground the left foot, lift the right, and bring your right ankle outside your left knee. And draw the right knee away from the center line of the body. And it doesn't matter how close or how far you go, just be at the right place for you. But as you send your knee away, just make sure that you don't start to lift up at the left hip. So the hips stay on the mat. It's just about moving your leg bone in rotation in the hip. Have 3 more breaths here. And then hinge at the left hip, lift your foot. And either stay here with your shin, left shin parallel to the mat, or send your right hand in between your thighs to draw your left thigh, interlace the fingers and draw the left thigh in a little. And if you draw the leg in, you'll feel your glute muscles, especially at the right and outside your hip, those are your glutes, working a little harder. Should feel quite a challenging stretch for many of us. Final option here would be to interlace your fingers in front of your left shin. Okay, if you have interlaced behind your shin or your thigh, release it now, and let's all bring the foot back to the mat and release the right foot. Okay, just hold still for a moment, just let that settle. Maybe a little wave from side to side with the knees and the hips. And then let's do the left. Lift the left foot, ankle outside right knee. Draw the left knee away from your center line. And just make sure that the right hip doesn't draw up so that we don't twist into the back. So the torso, the axial skeleton stays stable and neutral. As your next inhale arrives, hinge at the right hip, lift your shin in line with the mat, and either stay there or send your left hand in between and interlace your fingers behind the right thigh. Drawing in perhaps, and then stretch into the glutes and the outside of the hips is intensified on the left. And then the option to interlace in front of the right shin for an even deeper sensation for most of us into those muscles. And slowly release. So if you have a grip and interlace, release it. If your foot is lifted, let it come down, and let's release the left foot. And once again, just hold steady for a moment, and then maybe start to rock your knees and your hips from side to side. Okay, final pose, bridge. Bring your heels in towards your bottom, arms at the side of the body. Ground your feet, spread your toes, arms are down, push into the mat and inhale, and then lift your hips and your thighs and your spine away from the mat, keeping your knees, your feet in line and sending the energy up from the hips and the thighs. Let's hold for 3 more breaths. Keep lifting. Have 1 more inhale. And then as you exhale, slowly let your spine return to the mat. And then let your hips touch the back of your pelvis. Connects to the mat. Hold still. And then once again, very little wavy movements from the hips. Okay. So now if there's any other movement that you'd like to take, please do. Just honour your practice and take any other positions, movements, actions that you need. Otherwise, we're going to come into a short rest. You could either take constructive rest with your knees bent, feet wide. And so if your knees are, if your feet are 10 to 2, your knees are in line. Otherwise, you could have your feet at the edges of the mat and maybe let your knees drop in. Or you'll be in classical Shavasana with your feet as wide as the mat and your arms at the side of the body with the palms turning up. So one of those options for you, or indeed you could take a side-lying Shavasana, and we'll have a couple of minutes to rest. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you take a few minutes to let your practice settle, integrate into the body. I'll call you back when Shavasana is complete. Now very slowly start to bring some movement back into the body. Move your fingers, wriggle your toes. And if you'd like to take a full body stretch, bring your feet together, point your toes, and inhale your arms over your head to the floor behind you, and feel the energy all the way from fingertips to toes. And then bring one knee and then the other in towards the chest, wrap your arms around and give yourself a little squeeze. Last movements, maybe you rock around your hips, bottom of the spine. And then to come back up, either rock along your spine or rock onto your side and bring yourself back into a seat. And bring your hands into a prayer at the center of your chest and tuck your chin. Thank you for your practice today to celebrate International Women's Day. And today we have looked at the theme of choose to challenge in relation to our practice. But of course, things that we learn on the yoga mat can help us in the wider world. And maybe you can find some tools in your yoga practice to choose to challenge gender bias and inequality that still exists throughout the world. Bring your thumb knuckles to your third eye chakra, center of your eyebrows, and inhale. Exhale to take a bow and lift your chin. Let your eyes blink open to the light. Thank you for this practice. Namaste.